Howdy, folks. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I'm your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. Live in living color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. And today we're going to try round two with this whole Blu-ray spotlight thing. And just like my last video, we're going to be talking about an Arrow special edition. Not just the special edition Blu-ray, but this time a special edition 4K edition of Wes Craven's grindhouse exploitation drive-in horror masterpiece, The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. One of my all-time favorite movies. I've always really championed this movie as one of the movies that got me into the genre. I just love the old-school grindhouse, gritty, raw feel that this movie, invokes on its viewer. And, it's funny. I'm one of those guys for years. I'll always be a big proponent and sayer of a movie like this. You should watch it in the worst possible quality. Like, you should watch it on a bad VHS tape, get a bunch of pizza, popcorn, soda pop, whatever, and just, watch this film as it's intended to be in kind of poor quality. Like 144p would be a good quality for this movie because it just goes with it. So you probably ask yourself the question, well, Grande, why do the update to, HDR 4K ultra high definition? And to be honest, I'm just a mark for the film, and I never dipped on the Arrow Blu-ray, which is basically the same set as this. Like, all the contents that are in this 4K set that we're going to get into on the Spotlight video are in that Blu-ray. However, it's just a little bit lighter, brighter, more colorful transfer. So when they released this, I was like, you know what? I never dipped on that Blu-ray. If the price is right, I'm going to dip on this 4K because I still have the old school Anchor Bay DVD of this movie. And I mean, that still looks good and sounds good. The DTS HD audio, or it's not HD audio, but it's DTS audio on that sounds really good. And I gotta say though, the audio on this was a big improvement over that audio, and I was very surprised when I watched the film. That's the main upgrade for me, was not even just the picture quality, but the sound quality on here was just so substantially better than the DVD I have. The picture quality, like, let's face it, this is an older film. This is, a gritty, I believe this was shot on 35 millimeter, and I know they originally wanted to shoot it on 16 millimeter, but the producer Peter Locke was like, hey, we'll do 35. Like, I'll put the money out. We could do it a little bit more, expensive, and even a little bit more expensive was cheap. But I guess we get into the contents of this set again here. First off, like I said, Arrow always has these kind of in here pretty good. Of course, the original artwork here, which it is reversible with this artwork. This is the other artwork you can have, but to me, you cannot beat this artwork right here. And in my opinion, the greatest tagline in the history of horror cinema: a nice American family that didn't want to kill, but they didn't want to die. Of course, I just think this is one of the great, horror movies of all time. And I love this cover. And they actually, I believe the text on the original poster was white, because I think I have the poster in my room, like the tiny, poster of this in my room, and the text is white on that. I like this black text. Goes right with the 4K Ultra HD box, and it just looks fantastic. I like this kind of orange outlook, of course, and then it gives you all the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray limited edition contents on the back here. Great special features. They have a documentary, a making of. They have a lot of interviews, including one with Martin Spear, which I couldn't believe they got him, because I had never seen an interview with him for this movie ever. Martin Spear actually plays the Doug character, and funny enough, he looks just like my dad, especially around this era. Like, my dad looks very similar to Martin Spear, so I always joke with my pops. I'm like, were you secretly in The Hills Have Eyes? Just don't want to admit it, because I had never seen Martin Spear do an interview until this 4K edition came out, and he's like, I promise you it's not me. So, I mean, I was upset to find that out, but very cool to hear from Martin Spear. Of course, you have the 4K here on the right, and then you have some lobby cards here for the film, and I'm just trying to show these up here. Of course, that's the Italian one, which is really, really cool. Of course, these have the pictures of Pluto on the back, very cool. I think this one's Japanese, of course, of Barbara getting strangled. And then, of course, Mercury, this is Mars. Yes, I think this is the Spanish one. Yes, Las Colinas tienen ojos. Yes, The Hills Have Eyes in Espanol. Very cool. And this is, I think, German, of course. I'm not going to attempt to read German, but very cool. You have Michael Berryman there. And I think this is another Spanish one. Yes, Las Colinas tienen ojos. Yes, of Michael Berryman. This is some cool artwork. I like this, of different colors. It's very 1970s. I like that. And then this is La Colina des Yeah, I'm not sure what language that would be. If somebody wants to let me know, maybe French. I don't know. I'm not a language expert. I'm not bilingual like fucking C3PO here. But very cool lobby cards in this set. Especially if you're a fan of this movie, really cool stuff. But also Arrow always goes all out, of course, with these booklets, which you can also find this on the back of the box here. And they have these nice little booklets. I actually read through the Last House on the Left one, but I have not read through this one yet. But I'd actually like to. They tell you all about, I think, how they got into making this movie. And here's, of course, my dad fighting off fucking Mars. Very cool. I'm not positive they get into the transfer here. We can see on the contents here if they get into what they did for this transfer. The Hills Still Have Eyes, and then About the Restoration is on page 34. So they tell you more about, how they restored this movie. Of course, some cool, stuff here, images from the film. It's basically like a picture book, but it has some nice, comments and stuff like that. And, I would like to always read about the transfer. I'm like a mark for stuff like that. And I don't know. I think this is a really cool little booklet here. And then last but not least, because Arrow always goes all out, they give you the poster. And not only is it just the original one-sheet poster, it is also the newly commissioned artwork poster. So I'm just going to open it up here. And yes, you have the original poster art here of the original film, which I love this. I actually have this in my room already on actual one-sheet poster paper. So this is really cool to have, though, because they also did this with, I believe, the 4K of the bird with the crystal plumage, which I love that artwork, too. But also here on the back, you have the newly commissioned artwork. So you can pick whichever one you want. If you want to put this up in your house or your man cave or your woman cave or wherever you want to put this, you can kind of put this stuff up. So it's kind of cool. I like this new artwork, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I'm just a sucker for this old school artwork, and then, of course, that tagline is, you cannot ever forget that tagline. It's just absolutely excellent. So yeah, that is the 4K spotlight here. The transfer is very solid, like I said, but the audio is really the big standout here. If you're a big nut for like audio slash picture quality, the picture quality is not too different from the Blu-ray transfer, at least from what I've seen. It's better than that Midnight Time Blu-ray that they did years and years ago. But as in comparison to the Arrow Blu-ray that came out first, I've seen that Blu-ray. I've never owned it, but I saw the transfer. Not the biggest difference. Maybe a little bit brighter here and there. Reds really pop. I noticed the reds on Barber's shirt seem to pop a lot more in this, and you can see things a little bit better. But like I said, this movie, you really can't go wrong. If you already have the Blu-ray, I would say stick with it. Don't upgrade. Don't spend $30 plus to $40 on this just to say, oh, I now have the HD 4K. I would say keep your Blu-ray if you have the Arrow 4K Special Edition. But if you don't, if you're like me, you still have the Anchor Bay DVD. If you have that shitty Midnight Time or Midnight... What the fuck? It was Midnight something Blu-ray that was terrible. It was just one of the shittiest Blu-rays I've ever seen. If you have that, totally upgrade to this. I think it's worth it, and especially if you're a big fan of the movie like I am. But that is it for this edition of Blu-ray / HDR, I guess, 4K Spotlight here with Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes from Arrow video. So thank you guys all for watching. I appreciate it. We'll catch you next time only on The Graveyard. Too sweet, peace, and we'll catch you next time.